Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 1898th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 4th of April 2013. The readers this week are Janet, John and Keith, with Robin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, and are their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Harry Brewer, and performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include Teenagers Shot Dead on Estate, and Coroner rules crash that killed 3 teenagers was accidental. First of all, the special news items this week. Here's an item about free audio book CDs available to celebrate World Book Night on the 23rd of April. The RNIB is asking people with sight loss to nominate themselves to give away 15 audiobooks each on World Book Night on the 23rd of April. It's entirely up to each individual how they would give away the CDs. It could be to their friends or relatives or to complete strangers in the street. If you want to nominate yourself as a giver, please contact Deb Ryan at RNIB National Library Service on 0161 355 2082. That's Deb Ryan at RNIB National Library Service on 0161 355 2082, or email wbn at rnib.org.uk. That's wbn at rnib.org.uk, and explain how or where you plan to give the books away. If you don't become a giver, you may be one of the lucky ones receiving an audiobook on World Book Night for free. You can find out more about the wide range of audiobooks available for loan from RNIB National Library Service at www.rnib.org.uk/talkingbooks, or call our helpline on 0303 123 9999. I'll give you those again. It's www.rnib.org.uk/talkingbooks, or call the helpline on 0303 123 9999. Now here's some What's On news. The Southgate Symphony Orchestra will be performing a programme of French and German music on Saturday the 20th of April at 7:30 p.m. at Bourne Methodist Church, Southgate. Pieces include Beethoven's Symphony No. 7 in A and Andante for flute and orchestra by Mozart. If you want some tickets, you can contact 07092 879 097. And I'll give you that number again, 07092 879 097. And that's on Saturday the 20th of April. Now, usual notices about the Macular Disease Society. The support group meets on the second Wednesday of every month from 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Trinity Church Hall, Gentleman's Row, Enfield, EN2 6AN. The meetings are open to anyone affected by central vision loss, and carers are welcome as well. For further details, please contact Alan Newson on 020 8886 5659. That's Alan Newson, 020 886 5659. The Home Library Service. This is part of Enfield Libraries and provides a delivery service to people living in the borough who are unable to visit a branch library due to age, mobility, disability, or their caring responsibilities. We visit each of our members every 4 weeks. The service is free and we will tailor it to your taste. For visually impaired people, we can provide books in large print or recorded books on CD or cassette. We can also bring music on CD or films on DVD for people with some vision. Members are free to reserve particular items. If you would like to join the Home Library Service or know someone who would, please call 01992 716 010 and we will arrange for the Community Access Librarian to visit you. I'll give you that number again. It's 01992 716 010. If you're experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. That's Diane de Jersey and she's on 020 8805 6578. Now Janet will read the first item of local news.
A teenager was shot dead in Edmonton on Monday night in what police believe was a gang-related attack. Mohammed Hussein, 19, was killed at about 9:45 p.m. on a housing estate in Bouncers Road. Eyewitnesses have spoken of their horror and say that the teenager was shot dead following a heated argument. One resident told the Advertiser how a woman heroically tried to save the young man's life as he was dying on the ground between two blocks of flats. Alexandra Cooey, 21, who saw the immediate aftermath of the incident, said, "Just before 10 p.m. we heard two bangs. I saw a man lying on the ground in front of our flat. I also saw three men running away from the road. Another man went into the block opposite. I think he was looking for help. We immediately called 999. We went outside and one woman who lives around here was trying to save his life. She was giving him heart massage. She remained very calm, but she could not save his life." Police said they were keeping an open mind about the shooting and no one has been arrested at the time of going to press. A post-mortem is scheduled to take place and an incident room has been opened under Detective Chief Inspector John Sandlin. He said, "I'm appealing for anyone who is in the vicinity of Bouncers Road or Walbrook House at 9:45 to help us with our investigation. Likewise, if you have any information, no matter how small, that can help identify those responsible, please come forward and assist us."
A coroner investigating the deaths of 3 teenagers who died when their car crashed into a parked lorry said there was no evidence of boy racing. Coroner Edward Thomas weighed up the evidence given last Wednesday at the inquest into the deaths of Enfield teens Jack Boyton, 17, Harry Ferrand, 17, and Ashley Jones, 19. They died when Jack, who only had passed his driving test weeks before, drove his new Vauxhall Corsa into the back of a parked Sainsbury's lorry on the A10 near Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire on November the 9th last year. Evidence given by Robert Wagstaff, a senior crash investigator for Bedfordshire and Herts Police, said the impact from the car suggested new driver Jack was travelling between 50 miles an hour and 70 miles an hour within the road's 70 mile an hour speed limit. Driver Joanne Cole, who saw the teenagers when she pulled alongside them at traffic lights in the moments before their death, told the inquest she could hear the bass of the car's music. She said they were having a bit of a giggle. I can honestly say they were smiling. However, she said Jack was concentrating on the road. The Lee Valley High School boys grew up together in the Elsinge estate in Ballsmore. A fourth passenger, 17-year-old Liam Bradshaw, survived the crash and is recovering from head injuries. Jack had bought the car just hours before the accident and was on his way to show it to his mother Sarah when he crashed. He had been offered a job that day as an estate agent in Tottenham. Ashley had applied to be an apprentice electrician on the day of his death, and Harry was training to be a bricklayer. Mr. Thomas said, "There is nothing I have heard that suggests up to the point that driving was inappropriate. There doesn't seem to be any boy racing. There was music. 2 of them were enjoying themselves in the back, and they were quite excited." Jack Boyton had had 2 major events that day. He had been given his first job. He had a nice little car which he had sorted out with his dad quite properly. All he was doing was going to show his car off to his mum. Jack had been driving on the inside lane, and there was no evidence to suggest he applied his brakes or even swerved at the last moment to avoid crashing head-on into the 38-ton vehicle. The boys were not under the influence of any illicit substance, and none of them had been using their phones in the moments before the accident. Mr. Thomas said it is a very straight road, and heard evidence from drivers who described clear weather and good road conditions. Addressing the boys' parents, who sat together during the inquest, Mr. Thomas said, "They were nice young lads whose friends, whose family will always miss them, and nothing that I can say will make that any easier, other than the knowledge of how sorry we are about what happened, and also extremely grateful to the people who stopped."
Health campaigners have raised new fears over maternity care after figures reveal that 158 women in labour were turned away from Chase Farm and Barnet hospitals last year because wards were full. Chase Farm in the Ridgeway, Enfield, where more than 3,000 babies were born in 2012, is losing its maternity and accident and emergency services in November. Mums-to-be will have to go instead to North Middlesex University Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, or Barnet Hospital in Wellhouse Lane, Barnet. To cope with increased demand, maternity services at Barnet and the North Mid are to be enlarged as part of the £115 million Barnet, Enfield and Haringey clinical strategy. But campaigners warn that maternity wards will still buckle under the pressure of rising birth rates and population growth in both Enfield and Barnet. The latest figures have been published in a report by NHS North Central London. Kate Wilkinson from the Save Chase Farm campaign said, "The fact that 158 women were diverted to other hospitals while in established labour last year is completely unacceptable, and now we are set to lose considerable capacity at Chase Farm. With rising birth rates in people migrating into Enfield and Barnet, how are they going to be provided for increased demand? And will increased capacity at Barnet and the North Mid be paid for, built and up and running by the time services are removed at Chase Farm?" Aliv Kazimulu, chairwoman of Enfield Council's Health and Wellbeing Scrutiny Panel, said, "With the level of birth rates in the eastern corridor of the borough and the existing health inequalities in Enfield, we need to get further assurances so that we can be sure that there will be adequate provision once services are removed from Chase Farm. At present, I'm not convinced." A spokeswoman for the Barnet and Chase Farm NHS Hospital Trust said there were plans for an additional 57 maternity beds at Barnet Hospital, and it is expected that by the end of the year there will be capacity for 6,000 births a year at both Barnet Hospital and the North Mid. Adam Rodin, consultant obstetrician at Barnet and Chase Farm, said, "We are confident that with these local healthcare changes, along with investments in new facilities and the right number of clinical staffing at Barnet and Chase Farm hospitals and North Middlesex, women will receive an improved experience and feel more confident in their place of choice to give birth."
Thousands of pounds is being donated to good causes by the organisers of the Palmer's Green Festival. A maze in Broomfield Park and money to help a teenager go to Borneo in Southeast Asia and build a community hall are just a few of the schemes being supported by the Improvement Opportunity Fund. Money for the fund comes from proceeds from last year's festival, which raised nearly £6,000. 2/3 of the money is being put to good causes in Palmer's Green area, while the rest will fund this year's festival, which takes place in September. About 2,000 will be put towards projects aimed at improving Broomfield Park in Alderman's Hill, including the maze, the ironwork for which will be constructed by a blacksmith from Palmer's Green. The money will also fund equipment for Talkies, a pop-up community cinema managed by volunteers from Palmer's Green, as well as furniture for the Ruth Winston Centre, a community centre in Green Lanes for the over 50s. Carl Brown, the festival treasurer, said, "We raised roughly 6,000 and put aside enough money for this year's festival, but otherwise the money went into the fund." He said the teenager going to Borneo will receive a small grant, funding about 5% of his costs. He's going to take T-shirts with Palmer's Green Festival on them with him, and who knows if the people in Borneo will Google the place. One example like this per year will benefit the teenager immensely and the festival. People are now talking about Palmer's Green, and volunteers are coming up to us this year. A 9-strong committee decided who should benefit from the money, with local groups submitting application for funding. Chairman of the festival committee, Philip Chard, said, "The efforts and support of so many people brought enjoyment to thousands of visitors and allowed small businesses, charities and organisations to promote themselves to a wide population. We are now delighted to leverage that success into so many exciting projects."
Critics claim that the Mayor of London has not listened to people in Enfield as plans to close police stations and slash front counter opening hours are waved through. Mayor Boris Johnson revealed the final police and crime plan for London last week, which rubber-stamped plans to close Winchmore Hill Police Station in Green Lanes and cut the opening hours of Enfield Police Station in Baker Street from 24 hours a day to just 40 hours a week. Following an 8-week consultation, the front counter at Southgate Police Station in Chaseside is also set to close, but will open 3 hours a week for non-urgent face-to-face contact between the public and police. However, the station has also been earmarked as one of 15 stations considered for future closure, as the Mayor's office does not think it is suitable in the long term. Following the report, which sets out London's police plan for the next 4 years, Edmonton Police Station in 4 Street will become the only station in the borough to open 24 hours a day. Over the past months, Joanne McCartney, the London Assembly member for Enfield and Haringey, has been lobbying for the Mayor to rethink proposals. The Labour politician told the Enfield Independent, "I am disappointed that the Mayor has not listened to the residents of Enfield and that we will lose access to local police stations, even after we raised our concerns with him." The Mayor says he is putting bobbies before buildings and would not close police stations without providing the equivalent or superior access, but this is not the case. Proposed front counters open for 3 hours a week in place of a police station is not equivalent or better access to local police. A further police contact point is 864 Hertford Road, will also open for 3 hours a week, with plans to open extra points in North Middlesex Hospital in Stirling Way in Edmonton and Morrison's in Alderman's Hill in Palmer's Green if demand is high. According to figures from the Mayor of London, crimes reported at front counters have plummeted by 48% between 2006-7 and 2011-12. Despite the police cuts, Conservative MP David Burrows believes it is good news that Southgate Police Station will open as a contact point, as it sends the right message that the blue light must remain strong in the area. However, he said he will talk with the Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, Stephen Greenhalgh, about extending its opening hours. He said the station needs to be open as much as it is needed and hopes the public will respond by using the resource more than in previous years. Under current plans, officer numbers in the borough are due to rise from 524 in 2011 to 609 in 2015. Safer neighbourhood officers are also expected to leap from 61 in 2011 to 144 in 2015. Defending his police plan, Mr Johnson said, "Londoners have repeatedly told us that they are putting more officers in the street is their top priority, not keeping them hidden behind desks in offices that the public rarely set foot in. By getting our police out onto the streets and into the heart of their communities, we will drive down crime and boost confidence and at the same time build a metropolitan police service that is leaner, more efficient and more effective."
Now here's an article about a brave policeman. A police officer has been commended for bravery after stopping an attempted armed robber while he was off duty. Detective Constable Jonathan Rowland was driving past daylight signs in Alma Road, Enfield Wash, on January the 22nd, 2010, when he saw 3 men trying to rob the business. The trio threatened workers at the sign makers with a gun, pistol whipping one member of staff and leaving another with a minor head injury. DC Rowland spotted the struggle as it spilled out onto the car park and pulled over as he saw one of the attempted robbers aiming the gun at a member of staff. The unarmed detective identified himself as a police officer and 2 of the gang ran off. The other man continued to aim the gun until being disarmed by DC Rowland, who then asked a bystander to call the police. The brave officer continued to detain the struggling suspect until police arrived, before helping give first aid to the victim and securing evidence at the scene. The attempted robber was jailed for 6.5 years in June 2010. Metropolitan Police Commissioner Sir Bernard Hogan Howe praised DC Rowland, a detective with Haringey Police, as well as 20 other police officers at a special ceremony to commend them for their exceptional acts. He said, "These officers are all outstanding, and I'm very proud of what they do and have done for the Metropolitan Police. Every day, officers are out in communities, attending emergency situations and going to great lengths to ensure that the streets of London are safe. These commendations are a small way for me to recognise and thank some of those officers for their exceptional actions."
Some people hate talking about their job, but to the dismay of my friends and family, I'm not one of those people. So when teachers at De Bowen School in Green Road, Southgate, asked me to come to talk to pupils about local journalism, I jumped at the chance. This is a report from Daniel O'Brien, who writes for one of our papers that we read from. This was his first opportunity to impart all the knowledge, wisdom and experience which he had gained after almost 2 years as a reporter with the Advertiser. He was there for a 1-hour lesson. So after giving his version of life as a local journo, it was time to turn the tables on the kids and let them give him a grilling. They knew their stuff. From views on what makes a good story to questions on what to do if someone is unhappy with something you wrote, the pupils displayed a keen interest in and knowledge of the British press. After a productive discussion, there was just enough time to introduce the young press packers to the confusing word of shorthand. Not put off by the nonsensical hieroglyphics put before them, every pupil in the class took to the challenge of learning the T-line alphabet with enthusiasm. By the end of the lesson, every mini-hack had worked out how to write their name.
Police are urging households to be alert following a spate of hoax phone calls. A total of 39 people have been targeted by courier fraud in Enfield over the past 2 years, in which conmen telephone victims and claim to be the police or staff from banks or offices investigating serious fraud call. Victims, who are told their cards have been used fraudulently, are tricked into handing over their card to a bogus courier company, and their accounts are emptied. London victims have been tricked out of £2.4 million since January the 1st, 2011, with the majority of crimes reported in North London. Officers from Enfield's community police teams are meeting members of neighbourhood watch schemes and talking to people living in sheltered housing and care homes to spread the word about the con. Specialist Crime and Operations Commander Steve Rodhouse said, "Courier fraudsters put a huge amount of time and effort into being convincing because for them the payoff is immense. This is a massive part of what makes them so successful. We want people to question even truly genuine sounding calls and, more importantly, remember police and banks will never ask for your PIN or bank card, so you should never give these away."
Council chiefs came under fire from furious residents after a controversial plan to expand a primary school was approved at a heated meeting. At a planning committee meeting, residents who live close to George Spicer Primary School said they were very disappointed when councillors gave the green light to plans that would see an extra 2 forms added to each year. It means that there will be an additional 840 pupils attending the school in Southbury Road, Enfield, by 2019. Anne Lee, whose house backs onto the planned development, made an impassioned plea to the committee and presented the councillors with a petition signed by 520 people opposed to the expansion. Speaking after the decision, she told the Advertiser, "I'm very disappointed. They didn't even answer any of the questions I put to them." Earlier in the evening, Ms Lee told the meeting, "The school is too large to be wedged into this small piece of land at the edge of the playing fields. It's not directly situated on any road. Accessibility is not good. Indeed, the site is hardly big enough to carry out a proper fire drill, let alone permit access for emergency vehicles. It's illogical, nonsensical and problematic to build a school in this day and age without vehicular access or a dropping-off zone. The new buildings, which will house the reception classes and years 1 and 2, will be built on the site of the Professional Development Centre in Kimberley Gardens. that will be demolished to make way for 2 one-storey buildings. The school is sandwiched between Ladysmith Road and Sketty Road, and residents fear that the volume of traffic will overwhelm the narrow residential streets off Southbury Road. In a bid to ease the anticipated congestion, council transport chiefs have included a new car park in the plans to allow parents to park and stride to the school with their children. Council bosses have stressed the expansion is desperately needed in order to boost the number of primary school places in the borough.
Performers at Chicken Shed are gearing up for an appearance in front of a star-studded audience as part of a TV show this month. About 160 members of the Southgate-based Inclusive Theatre Company will be performing in the cabaret-style show at ITV's Studio One on April the 16th. Amongst the audience members will be X Factor winner Alexander Burke and television presenter Lorraine Kelly. The show has been organised by Jonathan Shate, celebrity manager and Chicken Shed Theatre trustee, who told the advertiser ITV kindly offered to host it for free, and there's a very impressive list of people in the audience. It wasn't hard to convince them to come along because people love Chicken Shed and people love what they do. They love the talent and the emotion. The casts are now being put through their paces in rehearsals to get them up to speed with cabaret, song and dance. Susan Jameson, a Chicken Shed spokeswoman, said that a cross-section of the community, aged from 7 upward, have been chosen to perform for the 350-strong audience. It will be absolutely amazing, she said. I can't reveal too much, but we'll be doing some well-known numbers as well as songs from recent Chicken Shed shows. Jonathan has supported us for more than 20 years, and we are indebted to him for organising this and many other events. His expertise, contacts and knowledge have taken our company to a higher level. He understands Chicken Shed and what we want to do. VIP guests will be treated to a canapé and champagne reception at ITV's Riverview Bar before taking their seats for the hour-long show. Other celebrities who are due to attend include model Kelly Brook, singer Marlene Klaus, and former Strictly Come Dancing judge Arlene Phillips. Some of the young performers may get a chance to meet the stars after the show. They are thrilled about the people who are coming to see them perform. Tickets cost £150 and all proceeds will be used to support Chicken Shed's charitable work. Doors open at 7 p.m. To book tickets, contact Chicken Shed box office on 020 8 292 9222.
We have now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.